go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to another, hold on a second. Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of I started to say Love Language Roundtable. That is a platform, but that's not the name of the show for today. But yeah, Love Language Roundtable. And we have been, like I said last week, for those that are new, welcome. We have been looking at marriage and the air quote dating process, all with the eye towards offering solutions for restitution. Our families are not doing well. Even when we get together, we still don't know what we're doing. And so that's what the purpose of this platform is. We invite, I know for a while it was like, we need more women to come on, but we also want more couples, married couples, because if you know what you're doing, then you should tell the rest of us so we can get our lives together. Okay, so it's an open invitation for anybody and everybody who wants to come on and share their thoughts, even if you're not married, whatever stage you are. If you're single, that's cool. We're not against single people either, but we're trying to get more balance. We invite married couples to come on too, collectively or individually, to hear what you have to say, especially as we talk about marriage. And so it only makes sense to then glean from the wisdom that you already have in that. So today's topic is make it last forever, reigniting your love life. And we was talking about this a little bit beforehand. We try not to do stuff that's inappropriate or cringy or none of that stuff, but we all got here somehow, so let's not act like wasn't nothing going on that was inappropriate before we even got here. So, but for real, today's topic is really to again look at all those different issues or things that might happen as you get married. And if you, wherever you are in the spectrum of it, we hope that today's discussion will be of use. Okay, all right. So the description says, depending on how long you've been together, passion can sometimes be a second thought in marriage. Children, jobs, and household duties quickly fill up the time that was once reserved for the husband and wife. How important is sexual intimacy in marriage? Okay. Does it matter if the sexual frequency has decreased over time? Why or why not? How do you effectively approach your spouse with concerns in this area? And what strategies are useful in reigniting the passion? When I first had the title in mind, I was like, I wanted to sing Keith Sweat, but some of y'all may not have gotten that joke. So I was like, I can't reference the lyrics because some of y'all make it last forever.
There you go, bars.
Thank you. So somebody's texting me. I'm gonna text them back with a link and they want to jump on. So if y'all wanted to say some initial.
What was you just saying? Oh my goodness.
The Keith Sweat song, Make It Last Forever. Come on now, you know that song, don't you?
I know the song.
Okay, don't play with me.
Arguably one of the top 10 love songs ever created.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
You said something right there, didn't you, brother?
It was monstrous. I was a teenager. I was what, 14 when that came out, 14, 15, and you couldn't tell me that I didn't understand what love was about. I was like, glad. I ain't even know what was going on, but it sounded great.
And my mother, God rest her soul, boy, she played that album to death, and like I know every song on that album and everything. So if y'all wanted to jump on with any opening remarks, I'm gonna text back my sister so she can get on, and then we can get into the questions. So we can go in order. I don't know what y'all see. I see myself, Zebulon, Shema, Isaiah. Do y'all see that order? I don't know.
Are you talking about in clockwork?
Yeah.
I'm seeing you're at the top left. I'm at the top right. Shema is at the bottom right, and then Yeshayahu is on the bottom left. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. So that would be like, I see y'all like this. So if you want to do it in that order, where it's you, Shema, and then Isaiah. No pressure. I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay. Who's talking? I'm confused.
Oh, good. Go ahead and take the reins, brother.
I'm taking the reins. I missed the whole first half of this conversation, but I'm quite sure I got it in my inbox somewhere. Hello everyone. Totally unprepared. The name of the show. What is the name of the show again? So somebody cue me in quick.
Make it last. Make it
Right.
last.
There we go. All right. Situations dealing with marriage and whatnot, right? And intimacy and whatnot, right? Right. Did I get that correct? Okay, cool. Hello everyone in the internet world. Um, Interesting topic. Situations turning, I guess you can say, delling. I think that's a natural part of relationship. You get used to the person that you're with or whatnot. You see them fairly often. You communicate with them fairly often. So those things can happen. I think I don't know if this conversation is talking mainly in the physical level, but I think things start off mentally always, and then are expressed physically. Um, a lot of times when we're dealing with situations with our partners, um, the discourses are the dull feeling can come from a position of not being happy in other avenues. So I'm going to leave it there and let everyone else talk, and come back in.
Okay. I'm up to bat. Um, yeah, and I think going back to what we were saying, I guess, prior to the show going live, um, I think one of the things that we can y'all hear me out there? Okay. Um, I think one of the things that we tend to overlook in relationships is the amount of work that's required. Um, and of course, as we go further on into the show, more things will be unpacked. But um, just like anything else we look at in life, whether we're talking about our jobs, whether we're talking about um, our interactions with friends or whatever, you know, there's work involved. It takes time. A lot of time is that we invest in these different things, but especially in the work at the workplace. Um, just like with work, that's repetitive. We go, every day. We may get tired of work. We may be like, oh, okay, whatever. But why? What's the motive behind why we go to work? You might not like your job. You'd be like, it could be better, whatever, like that. But why do we keep going back to work? Because, well, number one, there's a paycheck that comes with this. What I'm saying? There's a reward for your work, and that reward helps maintain your livelihood. It maintains, it puts food on the table. What I'm saying? It pays the electric, it pays the power, all of these different things. This is part of the reason why we continue to go back to work. And we'll do our job to the best of our ability. Why? Because we don't want to lose our job. And I think a lot of times we don't view our relationships the same way. That understand that marriage and these things, this is work. And if you don't put the work in, then likewise, you can lose that job. You can lose that person. You can lose their heart. You can lose their interest. And so I think that just right off rip, before we go into anything else, I think we have to get past the romanticized concepts of relationships and marriage, where, like I was telling Sister Tamar, like, hey, the way we've been taught is that, love at first sight, we're smitten with each other, we're holding each other's hands, and we're skipping through the meadows and the lilies and all of that nice, flowery stuff. But at the end of the day, in real life, there's a lot of work involved. And it's a work that if the work is put in, you'll always reap the benefits of it. throughout your entire life. There's always, if the work is being put in for the most part. But if we get to a point where we're now slacking and we're taking the person for granted, this is where, what the subject that we're dealing with now, where it leads to, falling away from each other, not having that interest. And how do we get back to that point? And that's why I started off with the analogy about work. Unless we look at it as work that brings forth pleasure, if we don't look at it that way, then the relationship becomes jacked. But at the center of it, it has to be viewed as work. We have to have the same type of work mentality towards our relationship the way we have for our employees. When we get up every morning or every evening and we are at that job on time, we're punching in exactly when we're supposed to be punching in, and we're putting in the kind of work that boss says that they want to see, and we give them that work, we give them that time. Why? Because we don't want to get fired. We want to keep that job. So we have to take the same approach when it comes to relationship. You don't want to lose that job. You don't want to get canceled out of that job, get fired, and someone else comes in to take your place at the job. So there's certain things, certain types of work and certain types of labor that has to be put forward in order to make it last forever. My little Cardi B moment.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I'm gonna be short. I'm gonna be sweet because y'all said some good things. So it's reigniting the love life. I'm gonna piggyback off what he said with the job. A lot of jobs that I've been at, they reward their employees too. If you can kind of relate that to the relationship, it's like bonuses and things like that the job does to kind of keep them wanting to continue, right? I mean, I know marriages, you got married, so you're in it. But, never be dull. You shouldn't have like dull moments. You should have times within the month where it'll keep that flame lit if both of you are busy and things of that nature. Like I like how Isaiah or Yeshayahu was talking about from a emotional and spiritual side too. Just try not to keep it dull, man. I mean, I think that's where a lot of relationships fail at. We become dull. We don't do the same things we did in the beginning, or we're inconsistent with those things that we were doing. So if you want to attach it like what Chief Zebulon was saying with the work, think of what the work does. They don't want their employees to be bored, so they implement little functions, events, bonuses, quarterly, things like that. So, I mean, same thing with a relationship. Just keep it interesting. That's it. That's my opening.
Shamika, I'm not sure you want to join in now or.
Oh, what's the question?
Oh, so just opening thoughts about the topic. The title is "Make It Last Forever." Reigniting your love life. So we're just talking about, making sure you keep it fresh.
Oh, yeah.
Hey now. So if you have any opening thoughts before we get into the questions, you're welcome to do so. If not, it's cool. We can just go to the first question. It's up to you.
Oh, no, I totally agree with what everybody said already, or what I did here. That was perfect. So,
Okay.
that's it.
Cool. Okay, so yes, so and I don't know, I don't really have any opening thoughts beyond what was already said. I do think that like Isaiah said, I think we should delve into the emotional side, which I'm pretty sure we will. I think we have to make it plain that it's a difference between the way most men, not all, and most women operate when it comes to being sexually stimulated. You know what I'm saying? So I think that if we make that plain, then it's not no confusion or shame or anything. Once we get into the how and the how do we get back to the reigniting? You know what I'm saying? Also, I know we're talking about songs, but dare I say this reminds me of the song "Ignition" by R. Kelly. Hey now. Okay.
Let's not talk about that.
I thought we canceled R. Kelly.
No.
What's going on?
Listen, regardless of what R. Kelly may or may not have been doing in his private life, the man's music was and is phenomenal. And this
Thank
comes
you.
from someone who's not a big R&B fan. So if you catch my attention, you're that guy. You're that guy. Ignition,
Hey, man.
yeah.
Hey, did I catch your attention? Hey, did I catch your attention? I know you're not a big R&B fan, man. Am I catching it? Am I starting?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be on your Bandcamp site this evening after the sun goes down. I will be seeing you.
Appreciate it, boss.
Yeah, no doubt. Ignition, sweat socks and house shoes.
Okay. Everybody calm down and stay focused. Okay. So
Yeah,
the first question the first question is
Tamika, tell John Boy give me some of his fans. All right, I'm done.
silly. So the first question is how I'm so immature. Stop it. How important is sexual intimacy in marriage? That's the first question. How important is it?
Oh, I'm up again. All right. And I have some variants about me now. I'm ready. How important is say that again? I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Tamar, you. There you go.
Hey, listen, I'm like an octopus. Okay. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the questions in the chat. That way we could go back and look at it. So the first question is, how important is sexual intimacy in marriage?
That's what I thought it said. Depending on the people. I just found out about a couple, and the husband was in his 60s, and the wife was in her early 30s, like just turned 30. So I don't think intercourse is going to be too important. Or sexual intimacy is going to be too important. In the next coming years of their relationship, depending on his health. But I would say very important, especially with people who aren't too keen on focusing or expressing themselves in other ways. I think a lot of times, especially in younger relationships and marriages, I think the ideal of having sex is one of the key ways to express their ideals of love and want for their partner. Not saying that's the only way to express it. I think it's depending on the maturity of the relationship and the maturity of the people in their relationship. There's compartments and positions where each of these different aspects of showing care for someone is there. I think a lot of times with young audiences, sex is kind of one of the more focused on topics, and then it expresses to other things later. I don't necessarily agree with that mentality, but it's there. Either way, I think in all marriages, some form of sexual intimacy is needed because men and women have needs and wants and urges outside of emotional stimuli that needs to be dealt with. And not saying that's the only reason people get married, but that's one of the reasons people get married. So it does need to be addressed. I'm going to keep it real short and simple and just end it there so the show will flow.
Yes, sir. I guess I pretty much agree with that. But I also think that there's this this uneasiness when it comes to when people generally are talking about intercourse, just sex, whatever you want to call it, making love. I think there's a certain uneasiness, and I think it has a lot to do with a carryover from the taboo element of it. We've been taught to kind of fear it and to avoid it and don't talk about it. I think this is one of the reasons why when little boys and little girls come of age, this is the reason why they go buck wild, because they haven't been, it's taboo. So by the time it's presented to them, they don't know what to do with it. They're like, and they just dive headfirst into it, literally and figuratively. Because again, they don't know what to do with it because it's such an incredible experience, but they've never been taught how to deal with these experiences. So I think these things are very important as long as they're kept in context. Understanding that there's a time and place for everything under the sun. There's a time for for spiritual intimacy. There's a time for mental intimacy. I think that sexual intimacy should be the outgrowth of those other elements. Think about it. If you have intercourse with, let's say, as a man, if I have intercourse with a woman who I do not have a physical, if I don't have a spiritual or mental connection with, and I have sex with her, that's whoremongering, because there's nothing there. And what do you do when you go out and you take a prostitute? Are we essentially doing the same thing? I'm taking a woman, we're exchanging, I'm giving her money, she's giving me something, I have sex with her, but I have no mental or spiritual connection to this woman whatsoever. Essentially, what is that? I am a whoremonger, because clearly she's a whore, but I'm now a whoremonger. And vice versa, when a woman lays down with a man who she has no connection with spiritually or mentally, she has now whored herself out, because there's nothing there. So I was taught, Most High bless his memory, Chief of Chiefs Naphtali, he was real big on this one term that he had learned, and he passed it on to his students. He said it's important that we as a people, that we become very big on being sapiosexuals. Some people call it sapiosexuals, but sapiosexuals, and that is a person who is sexually turned on or aroused by intellectualism, by anything that moves the mind, anything that moves the spirit, that gets you all riled up. And so, then you connect with that person on those levels, and then after all of that connection, then it culminates into what? It climaxes into a physical expression. And so the physical expression becomes that much greater because you've been vibing with this person on all these other levels for so long that by the time you get here, it's just the icing on the cake. So again, these things are important. All the elements of intercourse, whatever level of intercourse this is, physical, mental, spiritual, all of these things are important. In the Tanakh, all of the examples, all of the mentions of sexual intercourse in the scriptures, like where it says that Adam knew his wife, or Cain knew his wife, this person knew his wife, whatever like that. And it's understood it's sexual intercourse, but what is the Hebrew word used there? And I'm sure Shema knows this. The Hebrew word that's used for sexual intercourse in the scriptures is yada, and that's the word for knowledge. For knowledge. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the word for intercourse is the same word for knowledge. That means all of this outward expression of love, sexual intercourse, all starts where? Right here, sapiosexuals. And so the physical intercourse, I think, while it's extremely important, we also shouldn't make it the primary expression of love, because then it just becomes, okay, we're just having sex. It might as well just be whoredom at that point. but it has to be. But as long as if it's being used as an outward expression of a mental and spiritual intimacy, then yes, we can never understate the importance of it, because because all elements of relationships are important, and none of them should be downplayed as being insignificant or or less than another. And I'll cease from the ranting.
Hey man, leave it to Chief Zebulon. He gonna make sure y'all get this Hebrew. He gonna make sure y'all get this Hebrew work. You know what I'm saying? That was dope. I like how you brought that in.
Yeah, that was just that was just for some of our listeners and viewers who say that we don't go into the scriptures as much as we should. So that was just a little,
a little something. It was nice though. I like it. I didn't even think of it that way, and I knew that that's the word that was used, like you said. But now when you brought it out, well, I'm like, oh man, that's deep. You know what I'm saying? So, how important is sexual intimacy? It's very important. I mean, in the Hebrew culture, that was the sealing deal for marriage. So that alone tells you, how greatly or how important it is, because that's really the signifying point where you are united. You know what I'm saying? Aside from emotional standpoint and being on the same page thinking, but now you're joining. Spirits is intertwining. You know what I'm saying? So that's very important. It's so when people kind of downplay it, I don't know why, because it's like it's neck and neck with being there mentally with each other. It's really neck and neck, because you're really within each other. Depending on how you look at it. But the other things, I'm sure, with the rest of the questions, we're gonna get deeper into it. I'll be able to expound more on my thoughts, because I know it's a lot more to it. You're not just gonna be, depending on the man and the woman, it takes a lot more connection to just wanna get involved or wanna, be sexual with each other, and I get that. But to answer the question, it's very important. See ya. That's it.
I guess that means it's on me.
Yeah, and you sound kind of close to your phone, so if you can back up from it a little bit.
I guess it's how I sound now.
That's a little better.
Well, maybe I take it out. Can you hear me now?
That's much better.
Okay, great. I think it's very important as well, but I think that it's important to know what your partner think about it too, because y'all can have two different ideas on it and see it in two different ways, because that's how we were. I seen it in one way and he seen it another way. Like my love language is different, and I have a certain way of needing to receive love and how I give it. And then his is another way. And so we had to sit down and have a conversation. I'm like, why do you think this is love? Like, I don't understand that. And in his mind, he felt like that's the closest you could ever get to somebody. And I didn't see it that way. I saw it in a total different way. Thought it was like you're just being a horn dog type of thing. But that's his love language, kind of. So yeah, I think it's important, and I think it's important to understand how each other feel about it. That's
excellent point.
Sorry, I'm doing a bunch of things at once. Hold on one second. Oops, my bad. Okay. Sorry, somebody's trying to get on. So yeah, you're welcome to get on. You're welcome to get on if you want to have your face shown or not. If you want to be like Shamika, just have your name You could do that. We ain't judging you. I know she looks like she's beautiful. So however you want to get on is up to you. But we, like I said in the beginning, we want to have more married couples in particular, especially those that have been married for a really long time. Just so we can hear your perspective, because you know we don't know what we're doing, and y'all know what y'all doing. So somebody got to help. Okay. So to the point, you know, we have a lot of back and forth about whether or not sex is important, and I mean, damn it, it is. Okay, let's not play games or act like it's not. But I do like what everybody was saying so far about the intellectual aspect of it, and even the Hebrew word that is interesting because it do say no, and we already know what no means. But then to know it and then to have that be the expression of it, I think also that there's a certain maturity level that comes with sex, if that's the case, because we only talk about sex on this platform in 2 stages. Not sex. I'm sorry. Forgive me. We talk about sex in 1 stage, that is marriage. Anything outside of that is whoredom. So on this platform, we only talk about in the context of marriage, and so if you're gonna go that far and get married to somebody, you should at least know what they're about. And that goes to what Shamika was saying, what everybody else was saying, knowing your partner beyond just the physical, because anybody could have sex. Like, that's not a hard thing to do, you know what I'm saying? But then we're talking about maintaining that kind of intimacy over time, there has to be a meshing of the mental with the physical in order for that to happen. And as well, you know, learning like what's the motivation for it. So we said early on about you know, the different ways that men and women typically operate. You know, most women, I can't speak for a man, I can just whatever. But I pray you brothers, y'all chime in if I'm, you know, out of order with what I'm saying about men. But my understanding of men is that there's not a lot that need to happen for him to be ready. But with a woman, it's an all day long thing. You got and I love the whole sapiosexual thing, because that's me. Like, and I think that's because my father was an intelligent man, and so intelligence is mad attractive. Like, you could be a eye looking dude, and if you're intelligent, I'm like, oh, he's attractive. So it does help with the it does help with the whole process. And I think too that being responsible for that and making sure that at least that the man, of course, is, you know, encouraged in the way he's encouraged, but also the woman as well. And that, you know, if you start acting crazy, then you basically messing your own self up in that respect. So I think we have to look at it in an emotional standpoint and to ask questions like, have we ever asked our husband, you know, how he likes to be stimulated? I don't know. Has a man asked, and has a husband asked the wife? So those conversations have to happen. And if they haven't happened yet, it's okay to, at this point, you know, you marry, at this point, ask those questions and really get to understand your mate, because we understand the voices aloud, but we're not here to promote that. We're here to do whatever you got to do to save your marriage, whatever you can do. So I'm gonna ask somebody in and see if they have something they want to say real quick. Okay, he said he on now. Let's see. Shaul, I see your, I don't see your face, but can you? Hey.
Yep. Am I on here?
Yeah, you on there? Hey.
Hey, what's up? That's
What's
great.
going on?
I'm like an old man. I don't know about this technology.
Right, you are pressing buttons like. What does button do?
Like a button. I'm like, hold on, what's going on? What's the button? I seen a microphone on there. I was like, hold on, what's going on with this button right here?
Right.
All right, I see. But yeah, let's get it serious. What's crazy?
So did you want to say something now, or do you want to wait to the next question? I want to put you on the spot, but.
Nah, I'm cool. Well, I know I did comment a couple of minutes ago.
Okay.
About the question about his.
And it's kind of hard to hear you. I'm having it might be my old ears, but.
Can you hear me now?
That's way better. Go ahead, bro.
Okay. Now I said I commented a few minutes ago. What was the question again that one of you guys posed? Was it, is intimacy important or something like that?
Yeah, how important is sexual intimacy in marriage?
Oh yeah, and then I responded by, you know, basically saying that I don't think that the question is it important? Because we already know that it is. It just is what it is. But how I would answer that is, every couple is going to be different. And then even within that couple, the two individuals are going to be different. But I was going to say this, but I didn't even know that you were going to say this just a couple minutes ago. But when you was talking about it, it really don't take a lot for a man to be ready, and that's true. I mean, you have exceptions, you know what I'm saying, to that rule, but for the most part, you know, if your wife's sitting there, bust wide open, you come in the house, you're gonna be ready. Like it's like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not gonna take a lot. But of course, for a woman, it's gonna, like you saying, take all day. And as far as like the everyday life thing, when you married, and the other part of what I was saying is, I think is more so, the reality of how each couple operate, because like specifically speaking on my own marriage, is that I ain't gonna say that we don't have sexual intimacy a lot, but at the same time, there is a synchronicity in our relationship where we just kind of know, okay, it's time, and then but we don't. It's not like we sit, I know I kind of think the question kind of make it seem like it's a robotic thing, like we just sit up and talk about Thursday we gonna plan, we gonna plan for this day. Like I think that's more of an American thing than it is of a cultural thing. Like every couple is gonna be different. Like how we do it is, I mean, whenever the feeling is right. I mean, it just happens. It could be at any time of the day if we together. You know what I'm saying, or whatever case is. Other couples might actually, you know what I'm saying, plan it out. They might be so busy where they both got careers and they might actually plan it out. But I think for the most part, and I mean, I'm speaking boldly, that the average couple is probably just gonna do, they're not gonna stress stress it like, okay, we gotta do it this many times. You might have some people out there that's sexual like that. But for the most part, if you're just an average couple, man, y'all got kids or something, or y'all just working and y'all just living life together, it's not gonna be, we about to have this conversation like, yeah, babe, you think you gonna be able to, you know what I'm saying? It don't be like that. It just be, the moment just happen when it happen. It just comes naturally. That's why I was saying I don't necessarily think that it's an importance in the sense that we just sitting here talking about it, making schedules on it. It's just every couple just be different, and this couple might do it a few times a week, and this couple might do it once or twice a month. And me and my wife have sat down and had conversations with other couples before, and one brother I know, they was doing it like once or twice a month. That just happened for them like that. You know what I'm saying? And it just depends on the man and the woman. And of course, now I do agree with having the conversation in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? And asking each other. Like I asked my wife to show me how to touch her. Like I'm not gonna sit and act like I'm just an expert. Like, hey, every woman is different. So I'll ask her, how does she like to be touched? So, as far as her asking me, it ain't really no conversation. It ain't really no conversation. But you know what I'm saying. But at the same time, though, every woman is different. Some women don't. It's not an all day thing with some women. Some women is just over sexual like that. They just, I mean, if you with them, you look at them a certain way. They just, they in there. And some women, it take a while. And I could speak for my wife. Like with my wife, it take a while. You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn how to be patient and not be like a 13-year-old, 15-year-old kid going through puberty or something, like just all jittery and trying to force it. So, I had to learn how to be patient with it. And, and that's a skill that, brothers got wives like that, where they're the type that it take a little role play and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Brothers, you got to do it, man. You got no other choice. Like, if you was to ask me, am I a fan of doing stuff like that? I ain't really no fan of that, but at the same time, I have learned how to enjoy it, over the years or whatever we've been together. So my answer to the question is, in a nutshell, is basically, it just depends on the couple, man. Like with me personally, we don't have schedules or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just whenever the mood is right. And I kind of follow my wife's lead on that. Like if she, you know, I try not to, you know, come in like, hey man, you know, I need a couple nickel bags or so. I'll try not to come in like that. But so I try to follow her lead on it. Like, you know, she, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm, like I said, I'm always ready. But with her, you know, it take a little time. So I know it takes time. So I just try to, you know, feel her out and how she feeling and go from there. You know, I understand every brother can't do that, but you have to figure out the dynamics in your own relationship and how and what you're willing to compromise on and what you're willing to tolerate, and you just go from there. We just found our niche, and that niche is going to be different from other couples. You know what I'm saying? So is it important? Yeah, it's important, but that importance is nuanced. It's nuanced depending on the couple. Like, you know, we don't really make sex important. In regards to it got to be happening all the time. Like we just do it whenever. You know what I'm saying? Whenever she's ready, type of thing. So that's just us. And other couples might be different. So that's my answer.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Love y'all.
No, definitely.
Yeah, so stay muted, but jump in. You know, we'll keep going around. But I know Shamar wanted to say something. Go ahead.
All right.
Yo. Two things. The Aki or the brother had brought up. He said he knows somebody that I do too. Actually, it's like they like once a month. Oh my God! I'm sorry, y'all. Bless their heart. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's so funny. You're so stupid.
Bless y'all heart. Most High willing. I mean, Most High with y'all, man. Woo. Yeah. But anyway, what I was about to say is, I was just trying to be funny too. But on the real stuff, that's amazing. That's tough. That sounds tough. Maybe not. I don't know. I wanted to say about because I keep hearing everybody say this, man, and I must be a weird dude or something, because everybody said, men said and women said, to where they say a man. Now, y'all just talking about from a physical standpoint, or y'all just talking about from both physical and mental? Like physically, I guess, yeah, as far as a man could just be ready. But I'm one of those men that, and I don't know if any other man that's on the panel are like this, I gotta be here with it too. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't like get in no no argument or this and that, and then it's just like, okay, come on, let's go ahead. And then we back mad again. I actually, real quick, I don't know, I told one of y'all this. I actually was like not counseling, but like mentoring this couple or whatever. And I'm at their home, and they was telling me about a situation to where they was extremely mad at each other. And the woman initiated, you know, wanted to go ahead and be sexual or whatever. And then right after they was mad again. I was like, how y'all do that? How y'all do that? And I know it's men that do it. I'm sure it's women that do it. Hence the couple I'm talking about. But I'm basically commenting on what Tamar said, and I think the brother Agredo said as well. I'm not sure if y'all just talking about from a physical standpoint. But I'm here to tell y'all that there is men out there that cannot just, or will not just, they can, but they will not just have sex just to have sex. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's something, everything has to be together. We got to be on one accord everywhere. For me. I can't just get down with you just because I'm a man and I can be up and ready like that. So physically, I agree with y'all. Mentally, if y'all talking about from a mental standpoint, I don't agree with y'all. And that's it.
Yeah. I'm gonna chime in also with that note. I'm quite sure the brother that spoke on that was just speaking in broad terms, but I have to agree. I and my friends, people who know me at least in that light, or know situations in my life, they vouch. I'm more so a person that's has to be stimulated mentally first, or if there's a situation going on and it's on my mind, nothing else will work, because it's like my conscious controls other avenues of the body, and a lot of times if I'm not in the right place mentally, this is just going to end up awkward and wrong, because it's going to be things that I might want to say, I interject, and it's a time and place for everything. But you hear terms like angry sex, or a matter of fact, there's a lot of memes out there on angry sex and what is it makeup sex and that type of stuff. But if there's no verbal communication that stimulates those things, then it don't work. On my behalf, I'm speaking solely in my shoes. I've heard other men say that. I think because the media has painted men with a certain depiction, then it makes it easy to say, hey, you know, men are like what's the word thing, how do you say that word, cavemen. I'm gonna use that word instead. Neanderthals when it comes to emotion, and it's kind of like grunt thrust, grunt, move, and sometimes it just ain't like that. So it's good that this show is able to talk about the duality there without you know and kind of even challenging the notions that normal society kind of puts out there, because even the situation that Shema was speaking on, the woman was the one who initiated, which in most cases you find that to be so, because a lot of times this might be another portrayal of media, or what media has interjected into at least my mind. A lot of times men can't necessarily read when women are ready to be at that point. Not without any clear tendencies, unless you take the opportunity to do what funny that you guys have mentioned the Hebrew word. I don't know what it is, but to know, which can go along with study and being observant, and focusing on your partner to kind of figure out understanding those little nuances to achieve, I guess you could say, a greater connection. So I just wanted to chime in, and I guess the brother, if he wants to respond, he can, or whatever.
Yeah, he does. So I want to read this one comment on Facebook real quick, and I'm adding back in, then we go to the next question. So Kyle, hey girl, she said, it depends how much you guys disagree. If y'all can't come to an agreement, then you have to just understand the best thing to do is get over it, and y'all will bring understanding. Peace in the home is the most important. So that's the question. So hold on, let me go back to it. All right, y'all, we can come back in.
That statement was interesting.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
That definitely opens up another can of worms, but for another time.
Yeah.
Right. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I actually like, in response to like what Tamar was saying, and the fact that I agreed that, that basically a man could just get ready. But then when the other two brothers were saying, like, they need to be there mentally, well, it's kind of the same thing. And the reason why I say that is because like I said when I basically was agreeing with her, like, it's exceptions out there where, like, you just got guys out there that's just really different, and they just need, like, the moment to be right and mentally stimulated and everything for them to be aroused. But but I did like the fact that the first brother was saying that, if you're talking about from a physical standpoint, and that's basically what I'm talking about. Like, it's been times where me and my wife have been intimate, and I'm not there mentally, but I could still get aroused. Is what I'm saying. Now, if you ask me now, really to really get down to the bottom of it, we just gotta ask the right question. Now, if you was to ask me, is that the best moment, intimate wise, with my wife? Nah, it's not, because my mind is not in it. However, I am aroused. It's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like I'll turn her down or something like that. If I'm like in my mind, not, not into it, I could still, kind of separate the two. Would you ask, if you ask me, how did that feel? It's all right. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't there. But I think all men, what I'm saying, speaking boldly again, have to be there mentally for it to be like the best thing ever. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to get it. I don't want nobody to get what I'm saying misconstrued in a sense to say that, like my man was saying, Yeshayahu was saying about the whole Neanderthal thing, like we just, some type of, what I'm saying, mindless, spineless, creatures that, we don't have no deepness to our mental cognitive function. That's not the case. But what I'm saying is, anytime anytime we, in a group conversation, I'm going to answer a question based off my own personal experience. And what I'm saying is that I can separate the two. I can still, like if my wife is just into it and I'm not, I can still be aroused enough to perform for her, so that she can be satisfied. And that's why I was like, I think sometimes, with these type of conversations that we kind of, again, you kind of make it a little robotic, knowing that when you get in a relationship, man, things change. Like you can have a certain way that you look at things or see a certain way, and it could change. There's certain subtle ways and even in major ways that certain things change when you're in a relationship, and how you view things and how you perform and do certain things in certain actions. So sometimes you just can't say, well, I'm interested in this person. Like you're single, and then you say I'm interested in this person. Well, I see things like this, and then you get with that person, and well, everything is called off because y'all just can't come to an agreement. You know, a successful relationship is all about being able to reason with each other. And it's not even, sometimes it's not even a conversation that you have. It's just understanding the other person. Just like, well, I'm gonna let this, I'm gonna see where this goes and just let this, be what it is. You know what I'm saying? Some things is not just I'm gonna sit down and write it in a book, and if they can't follow this thing to the T, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have to, do whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, but I do agree with the two brothers. Like, for me personally, if I'm there mentally, then I could say the experience in regards to orgasm and all that type of stuff is the best thing ever. You know what I'm saying? When your mind and body together. But at the same time, speaking on my own situation, I can separate it if my wife is into it and I'm not, and I can still perform for her to be satisfied, just doing my duty as a husband. You know what I'm saying? So things change. So it's not like it's an everyday thing where, I'm just down, like, oh man, I can't. You know what I'm saying? That stuff happen every now and again. Like, I mean, so I would encourage us all to try to kind of add a little, real life scenarios into it. Like, that's every now and again. It's probably every blue moon for me where I'm not into it. But for me personally, I love my wife. You know what I'm saying? My wife know how to please me. She know how to please me. So, 9 times out of 10, if she ready, I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? Now, I can't speak for brothers that's single, and I'm not saying that brothers is wrong or right for doing what they do, but you got brothers that's single that, they got their little buddies or whatever. So I don't know how that is, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, I'm married. For 9 times out of 10, if my wife says she ready, I'm ready. It's very rare that, we into it. To be honest with you, we hardly ever get into it. I mean, and I just think it take time for a couple to find a niche to where they don't get into it. Like, man, my wife don't get into it at all. So it's very rare that I'm feeling a type of way about her. I'm like, oh man, I ain't turned on. It's very rare that's the case. So I'm not gonna speak that on somebody else and say that's another brother's and his wife's case. But for my situation, it's not like that. So I just wanted to give both sides. I agree with both sides. You know what I'm saying? But in regards to Tamar, me agreeing with Tamar, I'm coming from the standpoint that's the right situation. And for me, in my relationship, it's almost always the right situation. You know what I'm saying? But from the other brother's standpoint, I can understand where you might not be turned on, especially if you just had an argument with your wife. Because I don't like that. I can't get turned on after having an argument as well. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with both. Yeah, I guess it just depends on the way you break it down and however that day, whatever took place in that day, and however you guys did what y'all did that led up to that situation, that'll determine how that's gonna go. You know what I'm saying? And me personally, I have had all those situations transpire from the time of us, first getting together until this point, going on 12 years. So it just depends, at least for me.
Yeah, we appreciate your. Somebody want to say something real quick?
Yeah, no, real quick, y'all. I want
Okay.
to read what the sister said after I say this. I agree with him wholeheartedly. I got to let y'all know I'm not in disagreement with what he said at all. What I was in disagreement mostly is if you talk to a woman, well, most women that I've came across has said this, that a man would just have sex regardless. Regardless. They have said this. And think about what they're saying. Like, I was married when I was 24. If they are not emotionally connected, they will not have sex with you. Period. They unless they're forced to, or unless they're if it's, I don't know if it's like some type of manipulation or some guilt, whatever, they really don't want to. This is what I've talked to countless women, I've mentor, whatever you want to call it, counsel, and this is what's been said. But us in their minds is that, look, they'll just do it regardless, and like what the Aki was saying, what the brother was saying, their marriage is good in that aspect. You know what I'm saying? It's like he said, it's people that's different, their marriages are different. But I'm just looking at it from the outside of how it's looked at. And I was just correcting, well, not even correcting, but bringing an addition that it is men that I still get physically ready. I mean, I'm physically ready all the time. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But if I'm like a woman in that aspect. Pause. From a standpoint of like, look, we just can't just. I'm not ready right now. We gotta fix this situation. Now, transitioning to what this comment said. Then I'm done. She said, I never understood why both some men and women feel like communication will always bring understanding. I'm going to stop right there. She is correct. 100%. I agree with what she's saying right there. Being on one accord to me is always saying eye to eye, rather trusting that the things you don't understand about your spouse will be revealed or changed in all the glory and praise of the Most High. I agree with her because a lot of times, now I'm not saying like, shut down. You know what I'm saying? Or we got to be right. I'm right, you wrong. That's why I like casting lots too, by the way, y'all. I don't know if y'all familiar with that, but I love it. It helps so much greater with these type of situations. But I'm with her. If we're on the same page, look, I'm not. You know what, baby? I don't agree fully, but I respect, I understand, where you're coming from. But last thing I'm gonna say about this is I was just more so commenting on what Tamar said. Not necessarily the brother. I feel him on what he's saying. I just wanted to, Tamar's all love when I say this, but I just wanted to bring it out because within the last few weeks, I've heard countless women say that. And then you said it right now on the show. So, physically ready, yes. If I'm not emotionally connected, we ain't doing nothing. And what's sad, and last thing I'm gonna say about that real quick is like when you think about it, I hate that dynamic, that power trip dynamic in society today. When you think about it, some women, and I'm being bold when I say this, they use that sex as power. They do, and then we have to adhere to it. No, we both have to be on one accord. In my opinion, it's not no control factor. We shouldn't be trying to use that to control, and that's what happens. So with that, I yield, man. Y'all have a good one, man. I'm gone.
And I just wanted to, I just wanted to say too that, that I think the vantage points of them, they're coming from two different vantage points, but really from the same place, but from from their different perspectives. Like I think about in my youth. Now, of course, how I am now versus how I was when I was 17 is like a complete 180. It's like I'm not whatever. And at that time, in my when I was heavy into whoremongering, I could physically be ready at all times to whatever. It didn't even matter. As long as it was a female and she had melanin, I was ready. But I could be ready physically, and in my mind, still saying to myself, "Wow, what am I doing? I'm about to lay down with this whore. She's a whore. Clearly, she's a whore. All I did was bought her, bought her a sub, bought her a hero and a bag of chips and in a quarter water in the store, and she's ready to go. She's a whore. Why am I ready to lay down with her? So now, mind you, I'm having this conversation in my head. Meanwhile, the physicality of it hasn't changed. I'm still ready to go. So I always thought about it, and not to make it into a mythological whatever, but back in the days, remember cartoons, you'd have the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder, and they're throwing all types of things in your head. It was kind of like that, like nothing was going to stop me from doing what I had to do physically, regardless of what was going on in my head. And I could know I was dead wrong in what I'm doing, but it's like, hey, a little too late to be worried about what I'm doing is wrong. Let me just go ahead and get it done. But of course, now when you get older, and your thinking changes. Now, because now I'm a sapiosexual, that I'm not one of those individuals now who can just, get up. Now, again, in the context of a good marriage, like the brother Shaul was saying, in the context of a very good marriage, this doesn't apply because it's a good marriage. So yeah, of course, he's gonna be ready at all times. Why not? You know what I'm saying? So the context, absolutely. But in the context of, let's say, where there's no marriage there, and it's just, you're just ripping and running or whatever. At this point in my life, I can look at a very attractive woman and physically know that she's attractive and could have absolutely no interest in being with her sexually the moment she opens her mouth. And I'm like, oh, who is this ugly ogre? She looks beautiful, but her her words, her energy is evil. So the thought of me even touching her would be blasphemy to the Most High. I would consider it almost blasphemy. Like, oh man, I'm about, So I see what everybody's saying, but again, I think it has to do with the context in which they're coming from. Like with the brother Shaul, he's coming from a context of, he has a good wife, he's in a good marriage. So when you're in that kind of a situation, oh yeah, I'm ready. He's ready at all times. Any moment is the opportune time to get it in, and it makes sense because obviously he's with someone who can, who he can vibe with spiritually, mentally. So it all works out. It all works together. But in the sense of how Shema was saying, if you're just dealing with, let's say, with a female that you just get to know and whatever like that, I think it's a different ball game now. Now it's like, yeah, I don't know if you're worthy for me to. Nah, I'm good. No, thank you. I can't go. Whatever. And so I just think it has a lot to do with the type of the type of relationships and the type of intellectual connection, spiritual stimulation that's involved. If it's in the context of a righteous marriage, then absolutely. But if it's not, you should not get aroused by by a whore. You should or a whoremonger for that matter. A sister shouldn't get aroused by a whoremonger. She or he should be like Joseph, and saying Joseph in Egypt, and just flee from her. Like I'm out. So.
Yeah, good points, everybody. So we can move to the second question, because I think what I wanted to say, it might be, well, okay, I'm gonna say it on top end of it. So next question is, does it matter if the sexual frequency has decreased over time? Why or why not? I'm gonna put that in the little message thing. So again, does it matter if the sexual frequency has decreased over time? Why or why not? And I know we kind of talked about things being wrong and then not feeling like you could engage. And I think too, I like what Shaul said about asking his wife how she wanted to be touched. And then we talked about like trauma and things like that. So just in general, we need to know that about each other. And we talked about that last week. But also understanding that if it's a negative situation, the man or the wife, because I think somebody mentioned about like, withholding, and you shouldn't withhold. I mean, you shouldn't, right? But if you're in a situation that is toxic or abusive, because I was in a situation where I was married and I hated sleeping with my husband because he was mean. So that's a whole different mind. I'm gonna say the word, a whole different mind blank when you think about that, because you have to balance doing your air quote duty with how with feeling safe and feeling comfortable as well. So again, I think it all goes back to mental, especially a woman. I only speak for women, feeling emotionally safe to do the act. Because if you don't feel emotionally safe to do the act, then it is like whoredom at that point, and it's no point to it. So I wanted to put that out there in case I know people was commenting about that. I think Kyle said that men use sex as power, use sex use sex period as a way to exert power and all that. So okay, all right. So that's the question again. Does it matter if the sexual frequency has decreased over time? Why or why not? Okay, you can go ahead, Isaiah.
You raise your hand or something if you want to go, or how you do that? My bad. I just want to ask.
No,
We go in that order. Yeah, we go in a certain order.
Hey, yeah, it's y'all show, so I'll let y'all go. I'll comment last.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. There's an order. But in reference to answering the question, I'm going to continue on this rule of being mildly short. It only matters depending on the reason why there's a decrease, and depending on if there was an agreement of the decrease. Going back to the sister made the comment about using power or using sexual intimacy as a status of power. Both genders are both aspects of that relationship. It happens all the time. Culturally, we see it, the phrase or the notion used more with women, whether that be pop culture or what have you. I've always told my little cousins, and I might be wrong for saying this, I always told my little cousins that we was having a conversation on how to change, the situations that we're dealing with as far as men and women in our culture. And I was telling them a lot of times, especially a younger audience, men chase after, or men do things to attract women in normal situations. And a lot of times that includes what they deem as cool enough to incite sexual intimacy or incite sexual action now, because it ain't all intimacy. And I was saying, if them as women changed their view of things that they felt deemed necessary or change their standards, then the men around them, at least the ones that want to be involved with them, would also change their standards. Actually, that comes from a quote actually that I read years ago by some woman. I forgot her name, but she was some type of activist. But going back to the question, the change has to be deemed necessary of both parties, and the frequency decreasing has to be a result of that. For instance, if there's a partner moving, or for instance, if there's a situation of hurt or trauma, and you realize that that area of intimacy is hiding or covering up some other things, it might be beneficial to decrease. I was in a situation years ago with a young woman I was involved with, where in the middle of our relationship, we was together for a number of years. In the middle of our relationship, we decided to take a year off from each other, as far as being intimate with each other. But that was agreed upon, and the idea was to focus on some other issues and build a stronger bond. In a sense, it did that. It raised the level of maturity for both of us, which was indeed good. So that's what I would say. The whole holding out on one person, using that decrease of intimacy as a way to get back at somebody, I don't feel as though that's good in any sense. I think that creates more toxic situations and can ultimately destroy the union that we built. So with that in mind, that's my why or why not. So decrease over time can be beneficial. It can also be negative. It depends on the situation. I think with all things, in all situations, there should be, in all relationships, there should be an element of teamwork. It should be an element of gains and loss, but gains and loss in a sense of yielding to certain understandings are compromise would be the better way to express that. So it might be sickness or something else that you have to consider in order to say, okay, why aren't we doing this? I'm not going to bring out any names, but there's a couple I know, and a brother told me about his situation. The wife was ill, and due to her illness, it was creating a situation where intercourse was very challenging for her. And of course, he is not that he didn't want to, but he had to yield to her illness. And situations where I've personally been in situations where I was intimate with a person, and for whatever reason, illness or whatnot, they were uncomfortable, let's put it that way. And that totally erased all feelings of wanting to be intimate in that level out the window. So went from being ready physically to paying attention more to the mental and emotional aspects of that person, and kind of figuring out what was going on. And even in times where they wanted to kind of continue and push forward, I'm like, yeah, no, we can't do that if I know you're over here writhing in pain and experiencing discomfort, when it shouldn't be that way. Especially when we're talking about sexual intimacy, which that intimacy aspect to me seems to cover the understanding of emotional and the understanding of even a spiritual connection that's being made, and not just a sexual action, which can take place, as Chief Zeb said, which can take place any given time, a place, and sometimes you have to kind of put your own subconscious, or that driving force behind you, saying, hey, this is not necessarily the right the right way. I've been going on for 15 minutes. You funny. I said mildly short. Mildly. By the way, for the folks who just wonder what the outburst was, somebody just sent me a message, Shema, making fun of me, saying I was still being long-winded. I'm a yield now.
Well, yeah. Being long-winded is the Hebrew way. I mean, we got things to talk about. So, but yeah, and I don't even think that there's really much else to offer along those lines. I think you pretty much nailed it. Of course, it's that's obviously going to be an issue. Any man or woman who all of a sudden sees that their partner wants to decrease the frequency of sexual intercourse, or whether it's sexual, whatever the nature of it is, there's obviously going to be some concern there, because it's like, well, and naturally as people, we're going to think worst case scenario, like, oh, wait a minute, oh, you don't want to have like what we used to, what you with somebody else, we start getting that Ike Turner, that Ike Turner approach, like, what I'm saying. Like you saw all of a sudden you start wearing glasses, whatever, like what you wearing glasses for? You seeing somebody? Like, and you just start, so we automatically start thinking worst case scenario when our significant other starts to decrease the frequency. And it might not even be anything that drastic. It could just simply be, it could be an issue of work, or like it's just our time is so caught up, and you come home and you're tired, and whatever the case. So there's a lot of reasons, but I think, going back to what Isaiah said, there has to be a communication, so that we're all on the same page. Okay, why? Okay, we were doing it every day. Now we're doing it once a week. What's happening? What's going on? And if there's an understanding, like, okay, well, this is why, I just feel. So at least, even if you don't necessarily agree, at least you're clear on why the frequency has decreased, and then of course you can move forward and deal with it accordingly. But sometimes sometimes it might be worst case scenario. It could be a situation where it's like there could be a loss of interest physically, and I think we spoke about this in another show about when our bodies start to change and stuff like that. You be like, yeah, damn, homie, in high school you was the man, homie. What happened to you? Like, like, you start. I mean, these are, listen, these things happen, and so, all of these issues we have to consider as possibilities, and that's gonna determine whether or not we approach it respectfully. If I feel, let's say if I feel that I'm being shut out because I'm not the 180-pound person that I was back in the days, and now I'm whatever like that, then it's like, okay, there's two ways I can handle this. I can either lose the weight or just say, well, whatever. Like, whatever, your loss. And keep it moving. Go write a book. So, whatever, and just keep it moving, whatever. But yeah, but again, just to be back serious, there's obviously any type of decrease in intimacy, especially sexual, is going to be an issue. It's going to be an issue for the parties. I mean, only if there's love involved. If there's no love, then of course it's of no consequence. It's like, okay, whatever, keep it moving. But there's going to be that thought, like, well, wait a minute, what? We used to be doing it this way. Now we're only doing it this. We know what's happening. And more so with men who are being decreased by their woman, because again, women, they operate differently as far as their emotions and their attachments. Their attachments are different than how a man attaches a lot of times, whatever. So men, like women always say, well, man, he can have sex with a woman and and it's nothing. It's like, well, maybe, but for the most part, it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, it could be a sexual thing. But with women, and this goes, I think we had a show about this, when women when women cheat, there's some other stuff behind there. There's some other some heavy things to unpack as to why she's detached emotionally from that person. And so when that occurs, a man may look at it and say, yo, something serious is going down and I don't like how this is, and he's going to start thinking the worst case scenario. So I just think, and not to, I don't want to get into the ranting as well. But yeah, I just think that going back to what Isaiah said, as long as there's communication and there's clarity as to why there's a decrease, then all can be well. Then, you have that information, you can deal with it as you need to deal with it and move forward. I'm gonna duck out now. I think who's next? I think Sister Shamika, I believe, is up next.
Yo, let me answer the question first. Yes, Yahoo. Then you go ahead, man. I'll be real quick. I know you want to say something, but to answer the question, hold on. Let me read the question before I say what I'm about to say. The question says, does it matter if the sexual frequency has decreased over time? If you're doing it once a month, yeah. I'm sorry. Whoo. I'm only being funny, y'all, because look, I'm refraining from, I'm what people call get celibate anyway. But like, man, look, I get married, man, and we go once a month, and you want to decrease that? What?
Sounds like witchcraft to me.
Hey man, I'm trying to lighten the load. Be funny, man. We all serious right now, but whew, we gonna have to have a conversation. What's going on, baby? Are you okay? Unless it's like illness, like they said. I'm not gonna say all the stuff they said. Y'all know, a righteous man, righteous woman is going to understand what's going on if it's things pertaining to health, blah blah blah. Now, if none of that stuff in the picture, we gotta sit down, go have some dinner, talk. Let's get it back cracking. Cause this is an evil world. You know what I'm saying? We gotta stay connected. Mentally, emotionally, and physically. That's it.
Okay. So I think that it depends on your partner's or your sexual appetite. And if the appetite has changed for it, and then y'all need to discuss why has the appetite changed for it. Like, what, my chopped liver or something? Like, I ain't cute no more? Like, I need to know what happened. But I know for us, we've been together for 12 years. And we have had those decreases because we have 7 children. And by like the 5th kid, because we have Irish twins, which means I might not have waited my whole 6 weeks or something like that after the other kid. And so we kept having back to back to back, like 2 of our kids be the same age for 3 weeks. So we kept having so we had to pause, like, okay, wait a minute, we need to reevaluate what's going on here. We at the 5th kid, so we had like slowed down, but it ain't last long because now we got 7. So
Y'all got 7. Boy.
They all cute though. They all cute kids. Y'all did a good job. Good job.
Yeah, I wish I had 7 kids.
Yeah, that's a grip. That's a grip right there.
Yeah, straight up basketball team with some backup. Boy, I love it. All praise to the Most High for y'all, for real.
But of course,
appreciate it.
But of course, compared to our ancestors, we're all still slacking.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'll take that L. I'll take that.
Right, I'm good.
Yeah, I have too. So yeah, I'm ultra slacking.
Right. Shaul, did you want to jump more? Hold on, let's see if Shaul want to jump in before we keep talking.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you want to add to the conversation?
Oh yeah. Okay. Ask the question again so I can make sure.
Yep. Does it matter if the sexual frequency has decreased over time? Why or why not?
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my views on that question is, it should never be a time where if there is a decrease in. You said the question did have sexual intimacy, right? Decrease in sexual intimacy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So it should
Sexual
never be a
frequency.
time.
Yeah. So the whole conversation there is about sex. Sex.
Okay,
Sex.
gotcha. Okay. Hey,
Hey, Ma, you got it.
but it should never be a time where when, because I mean, in a relationship, sex is gonna go up and down. So like when my man was saying earlier, like, man, if it's once a month, like I know you try to make a joke out of it, but sometimes it be like that. Sometimes it might be once a month. But what I'm stressing is that when you really truly love somebody, during those ups and down times, it don't nothing really change if it's really a healthy relationship for real. Because I have had times in my marriage where it got slow, and times where it was like we was like roaches or something, ants. Like I'm talking about, it was crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? It'd be like that. But what I would suggest is that, you know, if someone truly wants to have love that lasts, you know what I'm saying, with someone through the up and the down times, then people have to learn how to love the parts about a person that has nothing to do with their personal preference. Because at the end of the day, as we get older, things change, you know, attitudes change, actions change, the whole nine, everything changed. So at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, you know, there should be a certain, you should have a certain mindset in the beginning when you're learning someone and learning the things about them that make them valuable to you and whatever you want your life to be. And when I say that, I'm speaking more specifically towards man, because the woman's supposed to follow the man's vision, but at the same time have an equally yoked or equally balanced type of given nature where, you know, the woman can have, you know, hers as well. And in terms of sex, you know, if you basing like some of the answers I'm hearing from you guys sounds like preferences more than they sound like something of like just true love. Like I just like this person is of value, so no matter what, we gonna work through all these different things. Because at the end of the day, man, my wife been together for a long time as well, and both our bodies and everything has changed. But that never, no matter how much my wife's body changed over the time we've been together, that has never made me look at her any different, because from the beginning I knew the type of value that she had, that she brought to the table. That's what I really love about her, because to be honest with you, she ain't had no value. I didn't care how she was looking. I'm not touching nothing that ain't got no value to it. It's a lot of things out here that look good, but it ain't got no value. So and I talked about this before about preferences. Like sometimes we put too much value on preferences and not value on if the person is actually valuable or not. You know what I'm saying? And what they can bring to the table long term over the course of the years. Because at the end of the day, y'all get 20, 30 years deep. Hey, we gonna start looking like pit bulls out here. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna happen. Like, I mean, the wrinkles gonna be coming. Everything it's going.
Not that.
It's gonna come. No matter.
We done went from roaches to pit bulls. What manner of sorcery is that?
No, I was saying as far in regards to your skin and everything.
I understand.
Yeah, you know, just speaking metaphorically, but it's gonna come. You know what I'm saying? Where the looks ain't gonna be there. Period. Like you just gonna be like, yeah, man, like damn. But at the end of the day, it's the value that y'all have built together over that course of the time, and at the end of the day, having preferences is fine. It's completely normal. But sometimes especially in America, man, we place too much value in that. Like a person gotta be cut like this, and they gotta look like that, and they gotta be like this and like that, and you ain't even think about can they have, what type of children they gonna produce with you. You ain't even thinking about what type of legacy they're gonna help you build. You ain't think about none of that. You think about your preference first. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we place too much value on that. So personally speaking, from my own marriage, it's been plenty of times where our sexual intimacy has decreased, and it has not bothered me one bit. You know what I'm saying? Not once. Because for the most part, I think the brother earlier said about let's really talk about what caused it. And a lot of the times we just be busy. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't set goals for ourselves, and I say, look, let's make this amount of money in this amount of time. So we focus on that together. She's helping me accomplish that as well as me accomplish that. And sometimes we just be busy and we don't, we it don't happen. She's fine with that. I'm fine with that. Like now, like I'm over the road. I ain't gonna say over the road like that, but I'll drive trucks for a living. So I'll be gone. And so basically we both agreed, like, look, because anytime in my personal relationship, anytime our sex life is down, it's not because we're beefing or into it. 9 times out of 10, it's because we have made a goal and set a goal with each other, and we got to accomplish that goal, and we just be too busy, and we just don't be intimate with each other, and she's fine with that, I'm fine with that. You know what I'm saying? But when we at home, hey, man, it's like we 15. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like we 15 going through puberty or something when I'm at home. So it really, I think the more, I would say, I would pose this question and to kind of answer a question with a question is in the beginning of a union, when you're trying to build something that's going to last, exactly what permanently about a person that they're going to have for the rest of their life can you love throughout all the down times and all the up times? No matter what happened, what this person got, they're going to have it to the day they die. And if you can love that, you know what I'm saying, then you will never be disappointed with them. And the question is what criteria should you be thinking about, and should you be in, with stipulations should you be in, guidelines should you be having in your mind while you're trying to pick that mate? Because, I mean, mate selection, because really a lot of these things we're talking about are issues in a relationship. And a lot of these issues stem from the fact that people don't know how to pick their mates. They don't know how to pick the right person that match who they are. And they don't even seek counsel on the person that they're even dating. So a lot of the times, you might know somebody and, you ain't even know they was dating. They pop the blue, they marry, and then 2-3 years later down the line, they getting divorced again or because of some type of issue. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the times we don't take time to really talk about what really matters when it comes to being with someone. And in regards to me, with my wife, it's things about her that so valuable that no matter how her body changes or whatever, she's sick or whatever the case is, would never change that and what I love about her and what she brings to the table. I could never bury that. I could never get rid of that. That's everything to what me as a man and what my plans are as a husband is going to accomplish. It's going to be because of what she brings to the table, because she's the other half to the situation. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically my breakdown or my answer and all that, my views on that entire question. You know what I'm saying? Is loving someone, finding what you can permanently love in someone that's going to that they're going to have for the rest of their life, for you to look at to keep your motivation high. Because it should never be a time when you lose interest in someone for ups and down times, whether it's sex or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Especially if the love is real. And I'm just saying that from experience, from my parents, from my father and my mother being married for 36 years before my mom passed, from my grandparents and all the things that I have heard from elders, like, and what kept them together, because, that stuff matters. That stuff matter, believe it or not, disagree or not, it mattered more than preference. Sometimes you got to push preference to the side and understand what is value, is this person valuable enough for you to sit here and tolerate all the baggage that they come with, because everybody got it. You know what I'm saying? And once you can figure that out, then you know you got a person that you can work through things with. And you work through it, you good. And eventually it's going to be on autopilot. You ain't going to be arguing, you ain't going to be doing nothing. You just going to be a husband and a wife. And that's it. So that's all I got to say.
Oh, can I say this real quick? Listening to his response, I feel like a lot of his answer, it was based off this conversation, but it piggybacked off of a couple of other shows we did too. And I love how every time we have conversations, every show that we do or that y'all do, because I know I missed a few, they all tie into each other. And I just love that. That's what
Right. That's what I wanted to say too. Like the things that he's saying, like we've brought these things through the other shows, and agree on what he's saying wholeheartedly as well. My answers is more so directed towards the question of the show. So like when I'm answering, I just want those that might be new or might not know me personally to understand it's a lot dealing with. It's mainly dealing with the topic. You know what I'm saying? Because like the stuff that he brought out is very important. Everybody should know that. We should know that. You know what I'm saying? That's very important. And we definitely spoke on those things, and he 100% right in those things. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to say that too. I agree with what she said. Like I was thinking about that as I'm listening to him. Like, man, we was talking about that a couple shows ago too. Mm-hmm. You know, so.
Yeah, and also too, just to the point, like I don't want to put nobody business out there, but he just said like he had a mother and father, so he had like in the house with him. So that is a big thing to acknowledge. And I know a few weeks ago I had mentioned the whole Fatherless America, that documentary, and that we have to have examples. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm glad he came on, because I love that brother. You know what I'm saying? And I think him and his wife are an excellent example of marriage, and so we have to have examples to refer to. We could make it up, but why? You have people that's living and breathing around you that can at least share, share strategies that they went through in the raw, like exposing the good and bad. Because I'm sure he can tell you if you talk to him privately, it ain't always been good, but to see the progress is good. And so
I don't mind going into that, just to chime in. I don't mind going into the bad. I go into that if y'all want me to go into that.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do. Like I think coming up, we're gonna continue talking about this. So you're
I'm
welcome.
an open book, so I'm good.
I know.
I'm gonna try to get on as much as possible. I've been watching. I have watched quite a few shows, but I just chose not to comment on certain stuff. But if you guys think that my answers was good enough to comment on other shows, I'll comment on other shows and speak about our down times as well, just to give it perspective, because you need perspective in a relationship to understand exactly the dynamics and what to expect, because you just never know. Everybody got different personalities, so I don't mind going into that. I go into the nitty gritty. That's why I was telling you before when we talk, like, from time to time, is that me and my wife's supposed to be doing a podcast next year. When we do the podcast, we're gonna be talking about everything. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about every bad situation we can think of, just to give a perspective on just how much we had to deal with from each other to make it to this point, to the autopilot, because that's the button everybody wanna push. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want to push the autopilot button, but I didn't want to cut nobody off or nothing like that. But I just want to let y'all know, like, I ain't hiding nothing. I talk about all the bad times too. But that's it.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Appreciate the honesty and all that. So we're gonna go ahead and jump, because the next question we kind of have already talked about it. Ways to address some of these issues. So the last question is what strategies are useful in I didn't answer the question. I guess it don't matter about the sexual frequency. I don't know. And also, Shaul, I like how you said the preferences versus like we're answering like according to our preferences as opposed to what's good for, I guess, both people. I think that's how I understood your question. I apologize if I'm misinterpreting what you said, but I like that as well.
In a nutshell, yeah, that's exactly what it was. I was saying is that, preferences are fine. to have. But sometimes you're not gonna always get that. You're not gonna always get that, oh man, they just meet every requirement. That's not gonna ever happen. We are imperfect beings. So, because and the reason why I brought that up because when the brother was saying like once a month, and I ain't gonna necessarily, because I don't know the brother's mind. I ain't gonna say that he's really taking that serious, but I also thought about I don't know if anybody remember when Chili had that show on TV. I think it was VH1, and she was looking for a man after her and Usher split. And she was talking about, he gotta have an 8-pack, and he gotta be 12 inches, and he gotta be this. That's stupid. It's stupid, man. That's the reason why a lot of people stay single forever, because you're so focused on that, you're not even thinking about anything else that's more valuable. Because that, like I said, their preferences don't last forever, man. When you get married, like you might have had a nice body or whatever, right? Now this is not everybody. You got exceptions. You got brothers that work out and they stay fit, wives stay fit while they married, but that's not every couple. You know what I'm saying? If it depends on your financial situation, it depends on the dynamic of your family, you're introvert, extrovert, or whatever the case is. It depends on all that type of stuff. So sometimes, you get, some people got careers that keep them busy where they're not able to necessarily be as active body-wise, and they get a little heavy. You know what I'm saying? Like me, I had to lead in high school, and I played basketball frequently. I still try to this day, but because I drive trucks, I don't gain about 60 pounds. I'm about 60 pounds overweight. You know what I'm saying? But to be honest with you, and my wife, when we actually, if you, I'm gonna have her post some pictures of when we was, because we've been together since she was 17, I was 19, and you'd be like, dang, y'all was skinny as hell. Like we were skinny, like literally. But our lives together as we matured, and we had to pay bills, we had to take care of certain things. It just happened like that, man. We both, we both gained a lot of weight.
We call that grown folk weight.
Yeah, it happens. You know what I'm saying? It happens. And I know some brothers be like, man, how could you just look at it? It's like, how? Well, I mean, why not? Like, it's my wife. Like, at the end of the day, her body is not why I love her. And if I cared that much about it, I can express that to her. And guess what? As much as she loved me, she would change it. If I really cared that much. But at the end of the day, she got other things that's more valuable than her body type. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we can work on that. Once we accomplish certain goals, we can go out and we can be a couple that accomplish our goals together, because we have weight loss goals that we are trying to accomplish, that we are working on, but it's a slow but sure process. But that's not in my mind. I don't think about that. Some brothers think about that constantly, where it's just, brother, we just shallow like that sometimes. We just think about that type of stuff constantly. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, but in a nutshell, Tamar, I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying, is that sometimes we place, when men and women, we place too many values on preferences, and things got to be specifically right for us to be in a loving situation. And sometimes, man, you miss out on your blessings when you do that. You would turn somebody away that could just been, they would have been the best situation for you, but because of your preference, man, you just ignored the value that they had. And that's basically what I'm saying.
No, I hear you. I appreciate that. So there's a lot of weird inboxing going on, so we're gonna cut this thing short. So the last question is, what strategies are useful in reigniting the passion? So that's the last question. If you have anything else you want to say, when it's your turn to go, you can say it. Oh, now you don't want to say nothing. Now nobody want to say nothing, but y'all want to be inboxing. See how that works?
There go the brother right there.
You just said we was going in the order, so I was waiting.
Okay, I'm just saying. Just saying.
Real quick, just for the sake of, because obviously for the sake of time, whatever, I'm gonna concede and let brother brother Yeshayahu lay out their platform.
No. I'm gonna forego all other points. Sometimes we just gotta yield for the sake of time and the advancement of the show. My computer's really glitchy today, so forgive me if I didn't get to the button quick enough. The last question, as far as strategies that are useful for reigniting passion, um, everybody probably knows me on this show well enough to know that my first strategy is communication. Whatever that plan put forth, if your partner is more on the expressive side, whether that be, dare I say, adding other tools, equipment, toys, whatever have you. I'm trying to find the best way to say this. That might be a conversation that needs to be put out there. As the brother had mentioned earlier, asking, your partner, hey, what do you like? Or what would you like to introduce? Or, what other ways can I do something to help the matter is also a good strategy. So communication, to me, is the first thing, and not being ashamed, or with that communication, not being judgmental. A lot of times we enter into these things, or we say these things to find an answer, and then say, okay, I'm not willing to cooperate with that. So if you get a reply back from that communication, remove judgment and think about the better benefit. I'm going to yield right there. Yeah, because Shema wanted to get something out, so I'm going to yield right there. Chief Zeb, you have the floor, and you should have room to talk.
Oh no. Like I said, I'm good. I want Shema to come in because I know he had a few things that he wanted to address along with the topic. So I have no problem with it. Plus, I think you kind of already kind of hammered it a bit. So I'm gonna, as you say, I'm gonna forego.
All right. Well, I love what he has said with the communication. I think communication is the biggest avenue, or the best avenue to take, or to have when dealing with fixing issues. Being willing to listen to the other person as well, and to also know that you're not always going to agree on the direction. That's why I like casting lots too, by the way. But take my time talking about that a lot. But yeah, I just agree with him on that, man. But I just wanted to add some things, man. Like in today's topic, or a lot was said, a lot of those that know me know I'm a variable guy. It's a lot of variables. It's a lot of variables with a lot of different things, and I was being playful. You know what I'm saying, with the once a month thing, but also serious. And the variable, a perfect example is the brother said he's a truck driver. I have a friend, and y'all probably friends with him on Facebook too, perhaps. He's a truck driver. He's on the road for 3 weeks out the month. That's a variable. That's understandable. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times I'm speaking from what Chief Zebulon would say. What would you say, man? Like ideal situation? Is that is that your wording? Yeah, like the ideal,
Yeah, somebody coined that term in reference to something I was saying. I don't know who. I just co-opted it and ran with it.
Yeah, you got so many factors. Like in the sense of Shamika and John Boy, 7 children. So I'm a realist in that sense to know, like, I understand those different situations and those different things you have to tend to. But as far as like the values, I think values are preference too. Depends on what we all have different views. We all have different takes and things of that nature on different subjects. So like for me, he had asked what are the determining factors. For me, I even got to the point where I wouldn't care if you was an Israelite. You know what I'm saying? As long as you loyal, um, um, loyal, faithful, and it was a third one. I have three things that I go by. You know what I'm saying? Those are valuable for me as a person. You know, so I agree with everything that was said. I just wanted to say it's a many variable. That's why I said before I even spoke now, I really stay on the subject because it's so many ways these subjects could go. You know, so that's what I just wanted to put that out there because I have different views on different things. I feel like a lot of stuff that take place with us, unless it's illness, health, or something like that, it's a lot of choices that we make on our outcomes. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't want to go into all that. You know, I was just trying to stay on the subject. So again, I agree with everybody. This is my closing statement too. I agree on I appreciate everybody's comments, everybody's thoughts and stuff like that. But I just wanted to make sure I put that out there. And that's it.
Okay, so I agree with the brothers. I think it's a conversation that need to be had, communication, and accountability too. Because um, if something changes and you can see the change. So you know if you're doing something different, if you're not acting or doing the things that you usually do to have your relationship to where it was, or your intimate life to where it was, um, the things you slacked on. So you take accountability and get those things together, as well as your partner. But if they don't recognize the things that they have changed or not doing the same, then that's where the conversation comes in. But I think it's just conversation and accountability.
Shaw, you
Amen.
want to say something? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, y'all just waiting for everybody else to speak since my answers tend to be kind of long, but I just want to make sure every time I chime in that you say that you ask the question again, so I can make sure I have proper context.
Yep, sorry. So the last question, I don't even know what's the last question. I think it's like what strategies are useful in reigniting the passion?
Okay, so how I would answer that is, if you get to a point where you have to reignite the passion, then there is a high chance that there was never really any real passion to begin with. It was just preferences. And I keep honing in on that because there is a different preferences don't last forever. You know what I'm saying? And whatever you like about somebody will change over the course of the years that y'all are together. And if, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I have been around so many older couples, man, and that's 40, 50-year marriages, and the husband is, all over her, just like he was when they first got together. You know what I'm saying? Type of thing. And I think the solution, because I always try to give, and I know, we stand on topic here, but it's kind of hard when, it's kind of hard to stay on just the question when, it's so many different variables, like my man was just saying, because it is. Because, again, and that's why I never, trying to put the energy out there that I believe that the brother was just, just gung-ho once a month. That can't work. Like, nah, I mean, everybody's going to be different. You have to find your niche in a relationship. But I think in regards to reigniting the passion, there's a chance that there was never any real passion there. You know what I'm saying? If you lost it. But they just say that it was, and it's been dying down, and you're just trying to, bring it back. Then when they was talking about communication, is probably I will probably agree as well, that'll probably be the number one thing because then you have to communicate to understand why the passion, or why the fire went out to begin with. So if that passion, went away for whatever reason, you guys have to communicate that. But me personally, not trying to be negative with it. If the passion ain't there no more, then it's probably not going to be able to come back, depending on the situation. I do want to put that out there. Depending on the situation, it might not come back. And that's why I was saying earlier in the last question that if we place importance on seeking counsel, seeking therapy, seeking to understand exactly what's going to be valuable, and I'm speaking to the men, for if men understand, what's going to be valuable for them in their legacy and their vision, then we won't have to have, a situation where the passion dies. You know what I'm saying? Or the chances are, I'm not gonna say it's 100%, like passion proof, or whatever the case is, but it's gonna up your chances. You know what I'm saying? Just in my experience and in my view, for the passion not to die. If things get done right or correctly in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the times when these issues just come from, Tamar mentioned trauma earlier. I think the brother Zebulon mentioned trauma earlier. You know what I'm saying? You got coming from different backgrounds, been raised, single parent households, abusive households, verbally abusive, physically abusive. You got all these factors that go into what will make a relationship a fruitful thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. I ain't gonna be long-winded or whatever on it, to be honest with you. But that's it for me. I ain't really got nothing else to say.
No, we appreciate that. And I won't add anything. The only thing I want to add is this, because I know there was a comment earlier that we don't read the Bible on here. Okay. Come with me. Proverbs 5:15. Drink waters out of thine own cistern and running waters out of thine own well. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad and rivers of waters in the streets. Let them be only thine own and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as a loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times and be thou ravished always with her love. Okay. So
I was actually going to go there.
Hey, let me just say this to the commenters, man. I'm not sure how many people, because this is going to be like 15, 20 seconds to the commenters, right? Man, y'all got to cut that out with that on read the scripture stuff, man, because I don't necessarily think the context of this show was geared towards doing a 70, 100 scripture lesson when y'all do this. I think this was geared towards people getting out their perspectives and then using their perspectives to get a solution and understanding to individual problems. And I think that's what it is. And I mean, y'all got to cut it out with that, man. Y'all don't read the scripture stuff, man. Like, come on, man, cut it out, man.
Yeah, but I think
I want to say something real quick, man. The show, just let y'all know, the show, the idea when I brought it to Tamar was because I already had a platform where we dealt with scriptures all the time. And people didn't tune in. Remember, most of the time when we deal with scriptures, a lot of people don't either read Hebrew, don't know it like that. It's a lot of different perspectives. So I started noticing that, and I said, okay, we need to figure out help in the home. So when I brought it to the table, I'm like, I'd rather this show be speaking on the issues. If we decide individually to bring out scripture, we can. I will sometimes too. A lot of times we got to remember too, man, like if you look at the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, they didn't say go to 2 Chronicles 2:15. A lot of the knowledge and the principles was spoken through the talk. I joke sometimes because
through wisdom.
That's what I was actually going to say as well.
Right. I joke sometimes because we need to joke. Sometimes we could be serious on here. I got that brought to me, so that's why today y'all see me a little more playful. But in all actuality, this platform is first and foremost, yes, for the community, so-called Black man and woman. That's what it's for. A lot of us are taught our base, and that's great, and I want to operate in that fashion. But this show or platform is to help the problem, because guess what? Like I told this woman the other day, when they say Bible this, Bible that, and hear me out when I say this. I said, and I told Tamar Zebulon this the other day, man, look, in all actuality, forget the Bible. What I mean by that is this: we have people that have knowledge
I agree with you, brother.
that can read like crazy, but their actions in their life and with their family and friends are horrible. And we still failing. Statistically, we are the lowest in success. So please, for the commenters out there, if you are saying this, I love you, but honestly, the scriptures ain't helping us from a standpoint because we're not executing it. It can help us, trust, but we're not executing. So we have to dig deeper in the minds of people, because a lot of us, we're not even thinking from a cultural, Eastern or scriptural standpoint. We're getting fed, conditioned by the Western or whatever you want to call it, society today. So we got to step into the society a little bit when we speak of some of these things and then bring it back. That's how I'm operating. I just wanted to say that and give you a foundation of what the show is about. But please bring forth scriptures if you want. I encourage you, but don't discourage someone who doesn't.
And I think that I think there's a disconnect too with some of the people in the audience, and that is that there has to be understanding that just because you don't, like, sort of like in the vein of what you said, just because chapters and verses are not being spoken doesn't mean that scriptures are not being told. You know, chapter and verse, that's good. That's like the way I was told and my teachers. That's like that's school, like that's grade school stuff. Like, no doubt, get your verses up, get your chapters up, no doubt. When you embody what you are learning in those chapters and verses, you no longer have to necessarily say, oh, chapter this or whatever like that. Like the brother Shama said, when you go into the Brit HaKadasha and you have Yeshua saying, here's a parable I'll set before you. There was a man who so and so. Well, there was this and that. And of course, those who didn't understand the parable, they're like, what manner of man is he? But those who understand the law, they're like, pretty sneaky, dude. I like that. That's real smooth. Whatever. So there's an understanding that everything that we do talk about in here, we're talking about Torah / scriptural principles. So obviously, as Israelites, we're not on here talking about marriage in the context of the Western world. Anything that we talk about, we're coming from this text, but of course we're not, browbeating people with, like the brother Shaul said, with 70 precepts, a precept to go for like over and over. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but again, it's 2 hours. We don't have enough time to read every single verse of Psalm 119. It's yeah, but that's what I just think it's a disconnect. That's all.
Hey, you know
I
what's
agree with
crazy
that
about
because
that? Oh, go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I 100% agree with both of y'all, because if we live it, it's gonna be in our speech. Period. So I don't have to go to First Samuel this and all of that. And a lot of people may not even understand us when we bring up those scriptures, especially if they don't know those stories. So they get in people with some knowledge in marriage and in life to give perspective in real time and still be able to reference the scriptures, because we not just and if I'm acting like this my whole, like y'all invited me to be a real co-host, but I'm just saying because I love the show too. So I feel like when we are having these conversations, it's not necessarily just geared towards Israelite marriages and couples. These are black marriages, black couples who all need this understanding and knowledge. And if we, like the brother said, browbeating with the scripture, a lot of people get turned off from that. Everybody want real life scenarios in real time. And I yield with that.
Oh, real life scenarios in real time. Start using that like that. That's nice right there. I like that. But let's keep it 100 though, man. Like my man Shema said earlier, man. Like, forget the scriptures right now. And the reason why I'm saying that, man, because you gotta think, we not talking about angelic figures. We're talking about human beings that lived thousands of years ago. These are not people that are just extracurricular special. Like they just gotta be, you know what I'm saying? These are regular people that live these lives, man. You can't put them on a pedestal like they're God. So what worked for certain people, what worked for, in David's situation ain't gonna work for me because I ain't commit no adultery. So I don't have to use his solution because I ain't in that situation. So you got to look at it like that. You got to think too. These people walked around on this earth. They didn't have nothing to reference to. They lived whatever they lived at that time, and they received instructions from the prophets and those among them who had understanding from the Most High. And we have to put that in perspective. And on top of that, the Bible not gonna say your marriage. I'm gonna just keep it 100 with you. It ain't gonna say your marriage. If you got problems, it ain't gonna say your marriage. Cause I have seen plenty. I don't have many counsels with many couples who was on the brink of getting divorced, and we sat there and read them same script, Titus. We don't sit there and read Corinthians 7. We don't read, you know what I'm saying, Peter. We don't read them scriptures time and time again, and that stuff. I mean, because we sitting here acting all spooky like this stuff is entering people's bodies and possessing them with the spirit of the Lord, and they just gonna change. Like that don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? And let's keep it 100. Your grandparents, the ones that had them 60-year marriages, 9 times out of 10, your grandfather didn't even care about no God. Didn't believe in the Bible, didn't believe in nothing. But that marriage worked for 60 years though, and they died. You know what I'm saying? They died together. You know what I'm saying? So let's keep it 100 here, man. Like cut it out. Like we gotta keep it. We gotta put things in perspective and keep it real, all the way real. And it's not to say that the scriptures don't work if it's work, and it does. But it's only when you are a person who have allowed yourself to be healed from all the things you have dealt with, so you can really receive the real spirit of the Most High for real. Because and people will be reading the scriptures, they ain't receiving no real spirit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You ain't receiving no real spirit. You just talking. You know what I'm saying? You can't, like I always tell people all the time, you can't read your way into a culture. You have to be taught culture. You know what I'm saying? So again, at the end of the day, what Tamar said, hey, the brother had parents, so it's good to have examples. An example is always going to be better than something written down. And it's a Japanese proverb or a Korean proverb that goes like, you know, saying something 1,000 times is not better than doing it once. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be, man, you got to be able to go out here and live this life, man, and be able to show people an example. Because I don't been in a couple of different groups and organizations, and brothers are sitting and read scriptures all day, and you got cats banging chicks in the congregation. Still, like we ain't talking about Christianity, we talking about people that's supposed to be Israelites. So let's just keep it 100. You know what I'm saying?
I think that I know what you're talking about. That proverb, it's like doing 1,000 different things once is not better than doing one thing 1,000 times. That's what it is,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a Korean proverb. So, and basically what it's saying is, you can speak it all. You can speak it all day, but if you ain't walking it, it don't even count. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, if you don't know how to, you know, hold back your temptations, and you haven't conquered, you know, relationships, and you haven't seeked no advice. That's why I'm saying. That's why I keep going back to seeking advice. Now, and because today we were speaking about marriages and relationships and sex. If we won't have a lot of these problems if people just stop keeping stuff for secret. Go to elders and go to people who have experience and seek advice on how to vet people, how to, you know what I'm saying, how to go through a guided courtship, a timeline and a guidance so that you won't make mistakes. You know, you can eliminate as many mistakes as possible. And just because we're not reading a whole bunch of scriptures on it, don't make it anything, man. Like the brother said, man, if you want to go into scripture,
You cutting up. I can't hardly hear you.
Yeah,
It's look.
It sounds like he's gonna say something important too.
But Shaw, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to close out. But we love everybody. Be safe, by the way, wherever you at. But definitely join us as often as you want to on here. We welcome all the wisdom. And that's it, y'all. You know what I'm saying? We don't wanna we hear what y'all saying, you know what I'm saying? But definitely it's the embodiment of the word that makes you, if you believe in Christ, that's what make you Christ-like. It's like he said, follow him. He don't, like literally follow him. So but yeah, but definitely thank you everybody that tuned in. I've learned a lot. I can't wait to sit back and listen to the replay. I try to go back and listen to the things I might have missed. But we'll be back again, most high willing, next week. Next Saturday, new topic, same time, 12 Central, 1 Eastern. If you have ideas for topics, definitely shoot it to us in the Love Language the Roundtable group on Facebook. Also join our page on YouTube, Love Language the Roundtable, so we can get this message spread beyond those that are on Facebook. And until next time.
Bye.
Ain't one either.